You have the eye for human weakness, but not the stomach.
What's this about?
Oh, just a feeling I have.
Ouch. When you get those feelings, insurance companies start to go bankrupt.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
It's the Al Travis Show. We're lucky to have him. He's John Hinderaker, president of the American Experiment, on with us. John, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing just great.
We did this, I think, last week, being a conservative that I am, how kind of disappointed I am in the big bad bill, the big beautiful bill, that it wasn't enough, and we got to kind of take what we get. This week, Trump comes out and he wants to do part of what Elon Musk found. $9 billion in Doge cuts. Why am I so disappointed in such a small number? There's more out there. He's just going to start with 9. If you think it's wrong, can't you just get rid of it, John? And it's leading me into your Doge, Minnesota Doge. Yeah. I want to talk about it, but I'm disappointed in $9 billion.
Well, I am too, Al. I am too, and certainly Doge. I forget the number, but I think Doge identified something like $175 billion in wasteful spending so far, and the effort continues. I wish I understood the federal budgeting process. If I did, I might be the only person in the world who understood the federal budgeting process.
Very true.
There are these different buckets. The big beautiful bill, there's a bunch of stuff that's not in that. It's not everything. It's what they can do through reconciliation to pull back spending that was slated for the current fiscal year, which ends on October 1. I think to do that, they have to do a rescission bill, repealing some previously authorized spending, which is not going to be easy. And I think that may be what the $9 billion is.
Okay.
But the federal government spends and wastes so much money, that we got to be talking about a lot bigger numbers to get the thing under control.
All right. So we'll wait. We'll see on that. But you have this deal, and this is what I want to talk about. You are heading off your summer, I don't know what you call it, your summer program. Every summer you go.
Summer tour.
The summer tour. All right. So you're like Beyonce. You're on a summer tour. But you go everywhere across the state of Minnesota. And this year, your tour is called Minnesota Doge. Cut the waste, save the budget. And if I'm looking, Owatonna and Lakeville a week from Thursday. What do I expect? Do you have a big number? Do you have a $9 billion number? Or do you get all done and when someone adds it up, say, wow, is that what we're getting?
Yes.
Yes.
That is what we're getting. And by the way, the full list of stops is now on our website, AmericanExperiment.org. If we have time, maybe I'll just read off the list. We're all over the state of Minnesota. We'll probably add 2 or 3 more before we're done. So just to frame this a little bit, right now, Minnesota is running a huge deficit. In 2024, the state of Minnesota spent $4.7 billion more than it took in. This deficit is not something off in the future. It is something we are living with right now. And so we begin by talking about the fact that Minnesota spends way too much money. We spend way more money than comparable states. We spend way more money, especially on welfare programs, than almost anyone. And we spend way more money than we did just 5 years ago. I mean, the explosion of Minnesota state government spending has been almost unbelievable. Starting in 2023 was the big one, but even going back a couple years before that. So we lay out these numbers. We have got to get our spending under control so that we can get our taxes under control and once again be a competitive state. So whenever you talk about cutting spending, the reporters will say, "What are you going to cut? What are you going to cut?" As if this is all sacrosanct. Our state government is so efficient, there can't possibly.
There's nothing fat hidden here to trim. Yes.
So we're going to answer that question. We have got cut after cut after cut, and we are going to show in these programs how Minnesota can not only eliminate the structural deficit that we're currently running, but we can keep cutting. That doesn't begin to exhaust the spending that we should cut. And we are going to keep cutting until we have cut billions more that will then allow significant tax cuts. And this is all going to be laid out in the program.
How much of it is controversial, my friend? Is this cutting, Medicare, made it Minnesota Care for half the people in the program? Is it stuff like that easily does it? Or is it stuff people are going to read like, We do that. I would say like the Sesame Street in Iraq we were setting up on the federal. I was like, we do that. I mean, is it going to be that? What we do that kind of stuff?
The trans opera in Peru.
Yeah.
You know, what? Seriously? Well, I think that the answer to your question is, I think there's going to be very little controversy over the items that we say can be cut.
Okay.
And, unlimited free health care for illegal aliens is on the list. I think that, huge majority, not everyone, but a huge majority of Minnesotans says, well, that's right.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be doing that. We have asked the question several times, open-ended, about state spending. We've asked people, what's your best guess based on everything you see, best estimate of the percentage of total Minnesota government spending that is wasted? And the last time we asked that question, the median response was 34%. So,
wow.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's huge. You don't have to convince Minnesotans our government wastes a lot of money. They know it wastes a lot of money. And what you need to do is to show them where it is. How exactly do we wring, and it's not going to be 34%, but how do we wring a lot of money out of that budget so that our taxes aren't so out of control that nobody wants to live here?
But what you're feeling, you do a lot of polls and stuff. Do you get the feeling that Minnesotans really care about it? It seems weird to say that because it's my money. I don't want you wasting it. But we've seen all this waste and fraud. You've got a fraud calculator on your thing, which I think has now gone to calculus versions. I mean, oh my God, everything is being ripped off. And yet we've got in our legislature this year 2 bills that I know of, when the OIG bill that couldn't get passed and the one that just said, if you work for us, then if you suspect fraud, you should turn it in. We couldn't pass that, John. There are people in this legislature who don't want to get this fixed.
We pulled the appointment of an Office of Inspector General to ferret out waste in the state budget, and the Democrats refused to pass it. It had unanimous Republican support. The Democrats blocked it. I think it was in the House.
Yep.
And that's really kind of shocking. We polled that. We were in the field. Our pollster was. We don't do it, but our pollster was in the field around Memorial Day, and that was one of the questions that we asked. I think it came in at 72%. I think 72% of Minnesotans said, yeah, I want an inspector general in the state government looking for fraud. And you'd think that something that 72% of the people are in favor of, which just represents common sense, following these unbelievable frauds that we've had, you'd think legislators would say, yeah, good idea, we better do that. But there is a significant faction that does not want fraud cut out of the budget, that wants fraud to continue. It's shocking, but that's the reality over in St. Paul.
See, but that's back to my point. 72% of us say, yes, we want this done. They're not listening to us in St. Paul. Do you get the feeling the Minnesotans are willing to change the way they've been voting to stop it? Because it's not going to stop. If this is the way we're going to put these people in, these people are going to do it this way, this is what you get. What's insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome? Are we going to continue down this road? We're at $66 billion budget. Goodness.
Al, if the incumbents can survive feeding our future, you just have to wonder, maybe they can survive anything. I don't know. But one of the, this is really the purpose of our summer tour, because, the local news media, the Star Tribune, which is now going through a huge round of layoffs or buyouts, obviously suffering financially. Well, not surprising. I mean, this is an outlet, the purpose of which the Star Tribune is not to cover the news, it is to cover up the news. And very few Minnesotans now think that is a great place to go to learn what's really going on. And so, we really do want to fill that void, fill that gap by spreading awareness and understanding of what's actually happening in our state government.
I love it. People can take a look at AmericanExperiment.org, go to the events tab. Again, next Thursday is Owatonna and Lakeville, and you're everywhere. What is that? A week later, it's Mankato, and then I've got Hutchinson. Where you at? Chaska, Newport, Vadnais Heights, goodness gracious, Minneapolis, Brainerd, Ottertail, Duluth, Bemidji, St. Cloud, Maple Grove, Marshall, Wilmer, Rochester, Coon Rapids, Edina. If you want to go, you don't have to go 30 miles to get to one of these. Oh my goodness, you're
all over. We'll probably add 2 or 3 more too,
Oh my goodness.
In some other locations, but we'll be all over the state. It's the summer tour, Minnesota Doge, cut the waste, save the budget.
And to cover this, just so everybody knows, like the one, and you look up yours, the upcoming, this one in Owatonna, Tori's Restaurant and Bar costs $15 to get in, just so people know, 11:30 to 1 o'clock, but I presume that includes some hors d'oeuvres or something?
It includes a lunch, yeah. I mean, so these are priced very, very cheap.
Yeah.
We supply some food, at each stop.
Yeah, fair enough. We've got to go to break. When we come back, I want to ask, you and I don't talk enough sports. I think I want to touch some sports. It's the third rail here on the radio station, but we'll talk some sports coming up next on the Al Travis Show.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
As in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And here we go. Third rail of radio. We've got him, John Hinderaker from American Experiment. John, this is such a strange story in that I don't think most folks listening will probably have heard about it. And what I mean by that, if you put in a trans girl Minnesota State softball, Google will throw out 10, 20, 30, stories written. They're not from Minnesota, sir. It's like in New York Post, the Fox News, and people have covered this thing. This young man is walking away with a championship, and I want to get Champlain Park is where this person plays softball. How is it we're not discussing this in the state of Minnesota?
Well, I think the local news media have kind of put a blackout on this story. And it's ironic because, the Daily Mail out of England, which is probably the most read news source in the world, has run an article or two about this. And so what's happening is that there's this person who now goes by the name Marissa Rothenberger.
Yep.
Who pitches for Champlain Park. And Marissa Rothenberger is a strapping 6-footer, and she can really fire the softball.
Yep.
And it's pitched, I forget the number now, but a number of consecutive scoreless innings.
Yep.
And Champlain Park is now in the finals of the state softball tournament. And some facts have come out. This person was born a boy. His name was Charles Rothenberger. And it's been reported that when he was 9 years old, his mother changed his birth certificate from boy to girl and his name from Charles to Marissa.
Let me ask you this. This is new to me. Maybe you knew that you can do that? I guess when we look at trying to get passports and all I got to do to get the real driver's license and prove who in the world I am, can you just change your birth certificate and say, that's not who I am physically, and names, I get it. You marry somebody, you change your last name. Can you change a birth certificate?
When you get married.
So that isn't legal? I didn't know that. Is that honest?
I don't know, Al. I honestly, in Minnesota or anywhere else for that matter, I don't know what the legalities are. But again, it's been reported that 9 years after the fact,
that's what I read.
She changed the birth certificate. And no reporter has asked, as far as I know, whether this person, born a boy, has had surgery, whether he's undergone chemical treatment of some kind. Nobody has asked, as far as I can tell, whether he showers with the girls.
Yeah, you don't hear anything about the setup. You're right.
It's just a cone of silence that has descended here in Minnesota. But when you watch video clips of this kid, and it's like I said, it's a strapping 6-footer, you know.
Oh, yeah.
When you see video clips of this kid firing the softball past helpless batters who are clearly girls, it's not hard to understand why Champlain Park is dominating the softball players.
Let's say the news doesn't want to cover it, John, and they you don't have to cover it if you don't want to. But how is it that every parent because here's when having this conversation with a friend, this friend said, well, there are only like 10 athletes in the state of Minnesota that fit, or in the country or something. It's such a small percentage. I said, that might be true, but this young man has taken somebody else's pitching position, so that's one family that's been affected. Every girl on the team has been affected, whether she likes it or not, feels comfortable or not. Every team they've played all year long, right up to the state tournament, every one of those people have been affected some way, one way or the other. Where she's showering, I have no idea. All their parents. Why are not any of the other schools or parents, why is this not somehow getting more notice?
Some of the parents have complained. Parents of girls on other teams have complained. They played Egan in the last round, but I think it was the semifinal round. They shut out Egan, I think 5-0. But the Egan school sent out an email to parents, basically asking them to keep quiet, saying, be silent, don't react, and without saying what the issue was, but just, hey, there's going to be some controversy around this. Just don't say a word. Yeah, and that's been the prevailing attitude here in Minnesota. And most people don't think it's right for men to compete in women's sports. We polled that issue in our most recent Thinking Minnesota poll. Our pollster did, right around Memorial Day. Nationally, that's about an 80-20 issue. Here in Minnesota, it was closer, but it was still about 2-1. Minnesotans don't think that biological men and boys should be competing against women and girls in sports. It simply isn't fair. And
well, what does it do? Do we not then, if you just follow this through, get to a point where we get rid of boys or girls sports and just call them co-ed? So if a softball team, co-ed, have to have X number of girls on the field, X number of boys on the field, same with every sport. And we're just crushed the idea of what Title IX was when they fought for that in the 70s.
Well, I think you have to go back and ask, why do we have girls sports? The girls' sports have been very popular. They enjoy very wide support from the public, from the taxpayers, for a good reason. We want girls to be fit. Sports are valuable in terms of competition and teamwork and life lessons. And we don't want that value to be limited to boys. But, if you say, hey, we're going to have a co-ed football team, well, guess what? They're going to be boys. And so really, the question here is, do we want to have girls' sports or don't we?
Yeah, and that's what it's coming to. And again, the news blackout almost on this is craziness to me. There's a lot going on. People are going to have to, one way or another, decide whether you're going to speak up or not. I did see that email sent out saying, hey, just no signs, no shirts, no protests. Let's just go play softball. And this guy's kicking everyone's backside in this game. I got to fly. I appreciate you, John. Appreciate you being on. It's the American Experiment. Go to there, americanexperiment.org. Take a look around at the events page. This Doge thing, I'm going to go for sure. You should be there. Thank you, John.
Great to be with you, Al.
All the special interests are